Hello. What's up, guys? I've seen a concerning amount of posts recently on Reddit and people talking about it in-game about how bad the scythe is, and I'm honestly kind of confused about that. I feel like a lot of you are sleeping on the scythe of Vitter, or you just can't afford one. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I am a little bit biased. This is by far my favorite weapon in the game. And I'm here to tell you why it should be yours too, unless you live at this place.
Inferno Cape when?
Yes, guys, my character is finally a man again after this guy bullied me into it. Behold, the scythe in all of its glory. This weapon comes in 3 distinct flavors and is obtained from a purple chest from the most based content in the game, the Theater of Blood. Your chest will never look like this, so you're just gonna buy it from the Grand Exchange. Then you can use that scythe to do the hard mode Theater of Blood and get yourself some kits to recolor it. This is going to mean literally nothing to anyone, but here are the stats of both the charged and uncharged scythes. Yes, you can use it uncharged, but let's talk about charging it. For 1 charge in the scythe, you need 1 vial of blood and 300 blood runes, and this 1 charge gives you 100 swings. After calculating the values of this out, using a charged scythe costs you 825 GP each swing. I know what you're thinking, oh Patty, that's so much money. But is it really? Nerd alert, there are 60 seconds in 60 minutes, which equals 3,600 seconds per hour. We divide that by 0.6 to get 6,000 ticks per hour. We can divide that 6,000 by 5 ticks since the scythe is a 5-tick weapon, which gives us, I think it has 1,200 swings at 825 GP per swing. We get 990k per hour if we are swinging the scythe every single tick and don't miss at all, which is literally never going to happen. So scythe really isn't that expensive to use because it's going to be less than that number. It's going to be less than 1 mil per hour, and most of the things that you would use it on, even the lower tier stuff like Cerberus or the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, are going to be more GP per hour than this number, and the scythe is going to give you just an absurd DPS increase. So why are so many people saying that the scythe is not worth using? I see it parroted over and over again that it's too expensive to use anywhere, but I think I just did a good job of proving that that is indeed false. If you're using it pretty much anywhere, it's going to cost you between 3 and 500k per hour, as you're not going to be using it for every waking second of that hour. The next thing that people say is that it's not good in a lot of places because it's not better than the Fang at TOA. Strap in. Let's start with the very obvious Theater of Blood. Doing Tob without a scythe is like getting a blowjob with a condom on. The scythe is best in slot at Maiden, beating the runner-up the Blowpipe with Full Void by a whopping 11%. Bloat is the most fun place to use the scythe in my opinion. Just with the salve bonus, your hits are just beyond the moon. I realized that if I do a DPS calc for every single one of these on this list, I'm going to be doing this for the next 15 hours and I'm just not doing it, so we're going to stop that right here. Honorable mention to the Chally for some nasty specs in this room. On Sotetseg, the scythe excels once again. I actually did do the DPS calc against the Osmonton's Fang, which is the runner-up here, and the scythe is 31% more DPS. I did forget to put it in here, but the scythe is super useful in the Nihilus room too to kill clumped melee Nihilus. While it might be difficult to pull off the scythe walk, eventually it's going to be time to grow a pair and give it a shot because the scythe is best in slot at Zarpus. As expected, the scythe is great against the final boss, Verzik Vitur. You can really feel the DPS difference in P2 and P3. It really is night and day, especially once you get into hard modes. Even with the usage, the Theater of Blood is more money with the scythe than the tentacle. You really do have to take wiki rates with a grain of salt, but with the tentacle, it is telling us that we're getting about 6.4 million GP an hour. But if we switch this over to the scythe, even subtracting the cost of the usage, we are looking at 7.6. I know I'm focusing on the money aspect of the scythe just because it's talked about so much, but there's tons of other reasons that you would want to speed up whatever you are killing, whether that be pets, collection logs, or just trying to get that task over with quicker. That being said, the scythe pays for itself almost everywhere where it's used. The scythe is going to be your best friend at Tecton and Ohm's melee hand. If you've never used a scythe before, you might not think you need it. You might think your lance is good enough, and I just tell you, It's not. Once you go scythe, you can't go back, and I really implore you to get one and give it a shot, and you will see exactly what I mean here. This is going to be another case where it definitely pays for itself. The Scythe is best in slot at most of the Slayer bosses. It is going to be your best friend here at Cerberus, coming in 8% above the runner-up, the Arclight. The decent GP per hour, even if you don't get uniques, actually makes up for the full usage, so uniques are just a little bit of gravy on top. This boss also does have a pet drop, so by using the Scythe, you will get more pet rolls per hour, which is always a good thing. Pretty much the same thing with the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil. The Scythe is going to outpace the runner-up by a whopping 20% here, which means you're going to get 20% more kills per hour, which if you're killing this boss, you're pretty much just pet hunting. So that's really what you're going to be looking for, is clearing time. And this is also another boss where the drops are not great, but they are going to pay for the Scythe's usage. Unfortunately, the Fang is better here at the Abyssal Sire. If you land one Dragon Warhammer, the Scythe starts to become better just due to the tankiness, but honestly, it's better to just send Claws. Bardorvis does have a mechanic where every 10 damage you do to him, his defense lowers by 1. This means that at first he does start off pretty tanky, but by the end, Scythe actually does become best in slot. I couldn't find exactly what point it does outpace the Fang, but I'm pretty sure you're safe to switch somewhere around the 200 HP mark. I just got it.
Holy shit.
Speaking of the new Desert Treasure 2 bosses, the Scythe absolutely rips at Duke. Depending on your BGS specs, this is going to give you like 15% more DPS over the second best in slot, a must-have for anybody who's farming out their vestiges. Whoopsies, I completely forgot about the Grotesque Guardians. I mean, how could anybody forget about these two? I do actually like these bosses, the Grotesque Guardians. The Scythe is best in slot against the Mele Guardian. Funnily enough, the Scythe is actually best in slot against the Gargoyles just next door. You'd probably never use it because it is a little bit too expensive to use on Gargoyles, but there's a little trick and we will be back here soon enough. For the next boss where the Scythe is best in slot, we're going to have to run a whole ass marathon, and I will see you when we get there. Can't say I've never done anything for you. The Scythe is great for the Nightmare, just without doing any Dragon Warhammer specs. You're looking at a little bit over 5% above the Inquisitor's Mace, which is the next best in slot. And if you do one Dragon Warhammer spec, which if you're doing a team kill, you usually are doing at least one of these, that actually jumps up to 12%, 12 and change. So Scythe is definitely super worthwhile for the Nightmare, and this continues on over to the Fasanis as well. Personally, I'm not a huge regular Nightmare enjoyer, but the Fasanis is a great piece of content, and the Scythe is also best in slot over here as well. The Scythe is also a great addition to the Dagonoth Kings. Although these aren't the best moneymaker anymore, they still make you a bit of coin, and the Scythe is definitely going to help you speed up your kills per hour and potentially get you out of some sticky situations if your kills are going a little bit slow. I'm going to do a calculation for this one because the runner-up for the second best weapon here is actually also the Scythe, but this time uncharged. That's right, boys. Let me show you a neat little trick. The uncharged Scythe is second best at Gargs after Inquisitor's Mace with full Inquisitor. Best in slot at Bloodvelds if you stack them. Honestly, don't do this, just cannon them in the laboratory. It's actually second best at the Grotesque Guardians as well. It's a great no-cost alternative to the charged Scythe at Dagonoth Supreme. It's great at Greater Demons, Dark Beasts, Necreals, Dust Devils, Worms, and the list goes on and on. Wait, did I forget to mention Sarachnis? If this doesn't speak to you, one thing that is certain is using the Scythe will make you look better than the people around you who are not using it. And what is more important in RuneScape than one-upping the other nerds who are surrounding you? Thank you guys so much for watching. I put an immense amount of time and effort into this video. So if you did like the video, please like the video. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.